Hi and welcome to this next solo war game. I'm playing while still in lockdown. As you can see, my hair has grown a little bit over this period. Looking forward to the barbers being opened. Today we're playing Chain of Command, but we're setting it in World War I or First World War, whichever you prefer, First World War. And we're using the Cocking Up the Mud and Blood rules that were published in one of the Too Fat Lardies specials, which I think is from 2012. These basically give you the force lists for the various armies. I'm using British and German in this one, and also just a few extra little rules here and there just to make it more First World War, make the game feel more First World War than the Second World War that it's built for. I've been meaning to do this game for quite a while. I've set it in Cambrai, 1917, British attack using over 350 tanks in the initial stages of the battle anyway. So this scenario is kind of based a little bit on the game that I played at Steel Lard, which was run by Chris. I'm afraid I can't remember his surname, and that was another attack at Cambrai using tanks, a tank with British support against German trenches. This is a slightly bigger version of that because I'm using 15mm, so I've got a bit more room to play with. But what I'll do now is I'll just show you the forces I'm going to be using, explain those, and then also just show you the board as well so you can see what we're fighting over, and then we'll get the battle started. So this is an attack based on the first opening days of Cambrai, so the British still have the tanks. They're attacking this German line here. As you can see, the trench line runs all the way across. The jumping off points for the Germans, they've got one in the trench on that side and then another one over here, and then they have a third and final one at the rear of their communication trench that's running up to join that front line fighting position. They also went for barbed wire entanglements, so the front of the trench is covered in barbed wire. And then over here we've got a couple of British, these are the British jumping off points behind these woods. These are the battlefield of Cambrai was chosen specifically because it wasn't particularly badly damaged by the war, so it would provide good going for the tanks. But what we've got here is a damaged wood on this side, a semi-damaged wood over here, and similar over here. And the British jumping off points, you can see there's one in this wood, there's another one just behind this patch of trees, and then a further one behind this small ruined village and wood here. So they've still got quite a way to get across to the Germans. The tanks will be coming on the back of the field over here, so they've got quite a way to go. So how good they're going to be in supporting the infantry, I'm not sure. But let's have a look at the forces. So we've got the British over here. They have 2 tanks in this attack. As I said, we've also got a platoon which has got the LMG section, rifle grenadier section, just turn that chap around there, the rifle, sorry, that's the bomber section, so there's 4 bombers in there, and then we have the rifle section at the back here. We've also got our senior leader and a junior leader with him, and we have a 3-man wire clearing team as well. On top of this, the British also have a 3-inch Stokes mortar which is off board but can fire on at some point. Just while I'm down this end of the table, I'll show you the force morale for both. Both of them have got 10. I rolled for those, and they're both on 10. So the first one to reduce to 0 will lose the game. And let's have a look at the Germans. So the Germans, as I said, they've already paid for their barbed wire, so they also have a platoon as well, and this consists of 2 Zug or sections of 10 men. 2 of them with LMGs. These are captured Lewis guns, and then there's also got a bombing section which is 8 riflemen with 2 bombers, and all of these are commanded by junior leaders. We also have their senior leader here as well, and this guy, he isn't actually part of it, but I've just put him in because the Germans have a multi-headed grenade charge which they can use against one of the tanks. So as I say, the British have got 2 tanks, but they are going to be starting right at the very end of that table, so it's going to take them a while to get across. The patches of shell craters here in front, I've designated those of rough ground just to make it a bit more difficult for the attack, but they don't offer any cover. The building will offer cover, as will the woods. So let's get started. British get the first turn because they've laid down a hurricane bombardment. It will keep the Germans' heads down, so they will be emerging from their trenches after the British. So let's get started. So our game begins with the British rolling their 5 dice, their command dice. Let's see what we get. So we've got a 5, so that's them with a chain of command dice straight away, so we'll give them a 1. So we'll get rid of that. We also have a 3, that's one as I knocked it over, and a 2 and a 1. So the 1 is a team, 2 is a section, and the 3s are junior leaders, or we can combine these into a junior leader. So that's quite good actually straight away. That could potentially mean that 3 sections are on the table straight off. So let's have a think about that. So that was a pretty good start for the British. They used their team roll, the number 1, to bring on the tank. One of the tanks at least. That actually moved 6 inches forward, so that's going grey guns so far. They also brought on their rifle grenadiers, put them on overwatch with one of the junior leaders over on this side, ready to support any fire, because that's the localised artillery unit. And then they also brought on their Lewis gun section with their other junior leader. He's also then used his command initiative to put them on overwatch, so they are now guarding the centre of the field. And we've also got on the right corner, right side, right flank, is the section of bombers. So that's 4 bombers and 4 riflemen, and they're going to be ready to attack into the flanks on the German left side there. So as I say, that was a pretty good setup for the British initially. They've got a couple more things they can bring on, but that'll have to wait. Right, so let's see what the Germans have. They also have 5 command dice. They're going to need to man these parapets as quick as possible, really. So let's see what we've got. 2 6s means that they retain the phase. A 5 is a chain of command dice. So we have there, and then we also have 2 junior leaders. So that's pretty good as well, actually. That's quite a good spread, and it also means that they get to do something as well next turn. So let's see what they do. So the Germans have jumped up onto the parapet here, and they are now firing down on the rifle grenadiers here in the field. They're on overwatch, so that means that they actually get to fire back once they've done their firing. So the Germans firing, they've got a Lewis gun and 4 rifles up on the parapet. They couldn't fit any more up on there. That'll have to be in a future turn. So we've got the 4 rifles, that's just 4 dice, and then the Lewis gun is firing maximum, so that's got 6 dice as well. They're firing at over 18 inch, so their effective range, so we're looking for 5s and 6s to hit. These are in light cover. The Germans are in heavy cover, but the rifle grenadiers are going to reduce that cover when they fire by 1. But let's see what the Germans do first of all. How many hits we got there? That's 3 hits, and then they're in light cover, so the Germans are now looking for 6 is a kill, 4, 5 is shock, anything else is nothing. So let's see what we got. So that's 1 kill and 1 shock on the rifle grenadiers already, so that's reduced them straight away down. Let's just see if that's on their junior leader. I'll put their shock on. That's not going to affect their firing immediately because it's only 1 shock. They have to have 2 or more shock before they start taking any detrimental hits on their firing. So we'll see if it's their leader. On a roll of a 1, it is their junior leader. No, it's not, so it's 2 normal blokes. So that's 1 normal bloke, because it was one hit, 1 kill and 1 shock. So that's 1 rifleman down. So they are now firing back. They have 2 rounds per rifle grenade. So that's 2, 4, 6, and they've got 4 in there. I'm going to allow that one to operate on its own at its normal hits, because rifle grenades are relatively easy to use. So we're firing 8, and that means we're looking again for 5 6s to hit because of the range, and there's only 1 hit. but it does reduce the cover for the Germans, so it's going to be the same again. 6 is a kill, 4-5 is shock. 2, that's nothing. And on the German left flank, again they've manned the parapets over here, but they're able to get all of their men up onto the fire steps, so they can all fire down onto the British Lewis section. I forgot to mention that once they're fired in Overwatch, Overwatch comes off, so they have the rifle grenadiers have taken theirs off. They probably will take theirs off any time after this firing. But the Germans are firing with 8 soldiers and the LMG, which is 6. They're looking for 5s and 6s to hit because they're in light cover. So let's see what we've got. Not so many. So that's 4 hits in total. Same again. 6 is a kill, 4-5 is shock. So that's 3 shock on that unit there, but no kills. So they'll be looking for their junior leader to reduce that, or even maybe bring on their senior leader to also reduce it as well. So there we go, that's 3 shock on the British, but that means they reduce their firing dice by 1. So we have, in that team, we've got the Lewis gun team, which is firing 6 dice. And then we also have 6 riflemen who are also firing their 6 dice as well. So 12 dice in total. These are now in heavy cover because they're not using rifle grenades. So we're looking again to hit them though on a 5 or a 6. So is that more than the Germans? I think that's going to be 4. Yep, there's 4 hits. This time it's a 5 is a shock and a 6 is a kill. So only 1 shock on the Germans there, so that trench is protecting them. Oh, I should have reduced the... Just completely forgot. I said it and I should have done it. Reduce the dice for the British firing there, but we'll let that one slide because the Germans have only taken 1 shock anyway. We'll pretend it never happened. But then their Overwatch comes off, and that's the end of the German phase. But the Germans have retained control. So let's see what they get. 2 6s still retain control again, but 3 1s. So that can be combined. That's either teams or can be combined. They don't actually have any teams apart from... No, they don't have any teams at all. So they're going to have to combine that into a section. Or they could split some down into teams, but they're not going to. We'll probably use that as a junior leader, and bring on maybe another section. But they do retain control of the turn. So let's see what they do with those. Okay, in this phase the Germans they combined their score to bring out another junior leader to activate. They've got this section out, but they're trying to get to the parapet and they've just not got the room to get there at this turn. So they're trying to move these down the trench a bit. But that's what they did. They retained control of the phase though, so we'll go back and we'll see what the Germans do with their next turn, see what their command dice are. Right, the Germans with their next phase. So they've retained it again. Wow. Right, so we've got another German command point. So that's 2 now for the Germans. They've also got there a junior leader and a section. So that is again going to be helpful. That'll either bring on their final section or get one of the other ones that's already on doing something. So let's have a think about what they're going to do with those roles. So the Germans use their section command to move this section up onto the parapet, but they had to use 2 d6 to do it, so they can't fire. There's still a couple of guys in the bottom of the trench, so they're unable to fire at the moment anyway, but at least they're up on that fire step. And they use their junior leader to get this guy to reduce the shock for 1 command initiative, and then command the unit again to fire down on the British here. So we're looking at 5s and 6s to hit. And again, that is only 4 hits. But they're probably looking to be whittling away as many of those British as possible, either through shock or just through kills. So these are in light cover. 4-5 is shock, 6 is a kill. So that's 2 more shock on that British team, on that Lewis team. They're really going to need to sort that out because they need that Lewis. They're going to need that Lewis to be using covering fire as they're pushing forward with their bombers and with their riflemen when they finally get their turn again. Okay, so that's the German turn done. The defence is currently stiffening quite heavily, so this is going to be a bit of a tough one for the British. They're going to have to wait for these tanks to get up, I think. So German control again of the phase. Let's see what they get. And this time they don't get control of the phase, but they do have quite a good spread there. So they've got 2 3s, 2 2s and a 4. So that's their senior commander, 2 junior leaders and also 2 sections. So that's pretty much, well, that's every section can do something, and their senior leader can come on and start helping as well. So that's a really good roll of the dice, even though they've lost control of the game to the British for the next turn. So with their good spread of dice, the Germans have given the junior leader down here an activation, and what he's done is split off half of the unit into a team to move over here, whilst the other group are firing down at the rifle grenadiers again. So that's what they're going to do. Over here we have this junior leader. He is ordering his section to fire across at the Lewis gunners, but they're going to be probably in hard cover now because they're behind this building at this point from these. And then we've got the final section is just going to fire again at the Lewis gunners from over that end over there, right on the very end of the trench line, firing down. So I'll work my way through and see what the Germans can do in this situation. So we've got first of all a Lewis gun firing 6 dice. We hope if I have the dice with me. Another 6, and then we've also got the 4 infantry with their rifles. So that's another 4 dice. And then so same again. 5s and 6s are hits. They're in light cover. So let's see what we got. That's 3 hits. So they're all misses. So 6 is kills, 4 5 is shock. And that's a kill and 1 shock. So let's put that shock on. So we really need to get these British moving forward. They're getting a bit bogged down at this point, but the Germans have retained control of the phase. Let's see if their junior leaders hit. On a 1 it is. No, it's not. It's just one of the normal fellas. So that's reduced their rifle grenades down to 6 now instead of 8. Sorry, 3 instead of 4. So that was that section. Then we've got this junior leader. He is ordering these guys to fire at the Lewis guns there. And on the parapets at this point we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rifles. He's also going to order, there's a couple of extra men there, so he's going to order those to move as well for his second initiative. He's not actually on the parapet, so he can't fire. What do we say, 9 rifles? Yeah, 9 rifles, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9 rifles firing in heavy cover because they're behind that building, and in the light cover behind it as well. So 5 6s to hit anyway. So that is just 2 hits, and then 6 is a kill, 5 is shock. And they're okay, so there's nothing happened to them from that shot. Those shots, so we'll just take that dice out. As I say, I'll move this figure in a second when I've done the other bits. And then we've got the normal team up here firing, and they're firing again with their Lewis gun. 6. That's 6 dice for the Lewis gun, and then another 8 rifles on top of that. That's 6, 7, 8. So that's a good number, but this time they're firing in light cover because they're not behind the building. So this is going to be 5 6s to hit. Oh, that's a lot more hits there than before, so take out the misses. So that's what, 6 hits, and then they're in light cover. 6 is a kill, 4 5 is shock. My goodness, that's not good. So that's 2 kills and 2 shock. So let me put that shock on first of all. See if their junior leader is the one that's hit. This time it's a 1 or a 2. So they're now actually on 7 shock. That's almost the amount of men that's in there. I'll check that in a second. So 1 or a 2 is the junior leader. No, it's not. So 2 riflemen. So that has now left them with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've got 7 shock. Any more than that, they will start to be pinned. So they are really desperate to get rid of that shock at this point. And that was a German turn. Very successful, actually. That's really holding the British in place. But let's see if the British can reverse their fortunes. So the British then, see what they get. They have 3 6s, but also 2 junior leaders. So that's pretty good. 3 6s, I think, is a random event. A quick check and it ends the turn. Not that there's anything that's firing that needs a turn ending, but means we've got 2 junior leaders. So that could be potentially 2 tanks, or we could start to reduce some of this shock. That was quite a quiet turn for the British. What they've done, they've just brought on their second female tank with their junior commander, junior leader, and they've also reduced shock on the Lewis gun team as well by 2 with their other junior leader. So that's as much as they could do, really. So back to them anyway. They retain the phase, so they get another go. Let's see what happens with that. Right, so there. Next turn. Okay, that's a lot of 1s. So we've got 1, 2, 3 1s, a 2 and a 3. So junior leader, a section, and 3 1s which are teams, or they can be combined. That's quite complicated. So I'm going to have a little think about what is best for them to do here. Slightly more has happened for the British this turn. They used 2 teams to move forward the tanks. They've also brought on reduced shock here with the junior leader. They brought on the section was used to bring on a British rifle group over here. This is at the moment a bit of an uncoordinated attack, and I'm trying to bring it back together. So they've got the the riflemen and the bombers are ready there to try to assault the German flanks. They've also used the final team to contact the mortars. Now, slightly differently to the Second World War, this would be pre-registered fire, and they would be using very lights to basically call in the mortar barrage. So what they've done is one of the leaders has basically fired off his very lights, and it's gone off. So the next activation for a team, if they want to fire their mortars, that will then bring in either the registering fire or the actual barrage itself. So that's what the British have done, but it's back over to the Germans, and it's their turn. And German-wise, they're retaining control of the turn with their 2 6s. They've got a 1, so that's a team, a junior leader, and the senior leader. So they could probably do quite a bit of damage with that. So let's see what happens. Right, the Germans have got a bit of a spread. They're using their junior commander over here to fire down on the rifle grenades, and then they're using their senior commander to command this section to fire down on the Lewis guns. So we're starting with the section over here. They're firing into light cover. They're looking for 5 6s are their hits. So we'll get rid of as many as these as are not hits. So there's only 2 actually, 2 hits in there. So in light cover, 6 is the kill, 4, 5 is shock. So that's neither, so that's okay, they've survived. And over here we've got just 10 men with rifles firing this time, so less firepower. And these are firing, as we said before, in heavy cover because they're firing through the building here, pretty much. And that is going to be, same again, 5s and 6s are hits. So 1, 2, a lot more hits actually, even though they are just rifles. So that's 5 hits, but this time it's 6 is kill, 5 is shock. Let's see what that happens. God, that Lewis gun is taking some right hammer. So that is another 2 more shock, which I just got rid of. 4 is ignored, 2 kills, 2 shock. So let's put that shock up, so they're back up to 5. And let's see if the junior leader is killed, because one of the 1 or 2 or he's hit at least. Yes, he's hit. 1 is killed outright. 2 or 3, he is wounded for the turn. 4, 5, 6, he is lightly wounded. So 3, he is wounded, I believe, for the turn. He can't activate for the rest of this turn. I'm going to put him on his side just to show that, so we know. And then that's a hit on one of the other guys. Blimey, they are taking some hammer, those Lewis gunners. The Germans retain control of the phase, so let's see what they get. We've got 6, so we ignore that. So we go back to the British. 2 senior leaders. There's only 1, so we could probably get rid of that. And that was a 2. So that's a section and a section. So 2 sections and 1 senior leader. So probably a little bit more firing, similar to last turn. First section. This one down here, firing of the rifle grenadiers. So again, 5s and 6s are hits. Gosh, that's an awful lot of hits. They are in light cover as well, so that's probably not going to be great for them. So that's what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 hits in total. So 6s kills, 4, 5 shock. Let's see what happens. So we've got 1, 2 kills. Check if the leader is one of those, and 4, 5 shock. So 3 shock, 2 kills. So we'll put that shock up. So that is now 5. And we said 2 kills. Check if one of them is their junior leader. Wonder at 2 it is. No, it's not. So it's 2 or more of the grenadiers. So that's reducing their firepower down. So then add on to 4 men. So that has actually pinned them. No, they're 5 for 5 because there's 5 infantry in there. So they're any more shock and they will become pinned. The next up is the senior leader. He's commanding this unit to fire down with their 10 rifles at the Lewis gun. They're in heavy cover because again they're behind our buildings, but we're looking at 5s and 6s to hit. That's only 2 hits. 6 is a kill, 5 is shock. So that's 1 kill, and let's see who it is. It's a 1, it's the junior leader. No, it's not, so it's another rifleman. Well, actually, I think it's time to remove the Lewis gun crewman. And the final thing for the Germans is this section over here is firing down again. Now the Lewis team, they're really trying to destroy them. So with their Lewis gun as well. I'm putting up a withering fire. God, even more hits. So 5s and 6s. Don't think this Lewis gun is going to take much more battering than this. So that's 6 hits. They're in light cover this time. So 4, 5 is shock, 6 is kills. So we've got 1, 2, 3 kills and 2 shock. So let's immediately put the shock on. So they're now back up to 7. That's 3 of them killed. Let's see if one of these is the corporal, Sid Upton. Yes, he's hit. So 1, he's killed outright. Although 2 or 3, he's wounded for the rest of the turn. 4, 5, 6, he is wounded and reduces his initiatives. Killed outright. Goodbye, Sid. And then also 2 others are killed. So I'm going to take off the Lewis gun at this point because they're taking so many hits. So that's the Lewis on that. They are now at 7, which means that this team has lost its bottle, so they will break. So they fall back 2d6 plus 6 inches. And we also have to roll on the bad things happen table twice because the section has broken and the junior leader has been killed. This is going to affect the British morale pretty bad. So that's 3. So that's 9 inch back. So they're back behind their jumping off point, and that is destroyed. That's Lewis gun section. They take those with them. And let's roll on the bad things happen table. So first of all, for a section breaking, 1 or 2, 1 point off, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 points off. So 2 points off immediately of the force morale, so they're down to 8 now. And then for a junior leader getting killed, 1, 2, 3, -1, 4, 5, 6, -2. So another 2 points off. That's taken them straight down to 6. Wow, that just shows you how much damage losing leaders and sections can give you straight away. Okay, so Britain's turn. Cost of the loss of the Lewis gun on the junior leader They are now down on a force morale of 6, so they've taken some hammer. They've got all of their units on the board apart from the wire clipping team and their senior leader. What they really need to do is get these tanks forward as much as possible, I think, at this point. This is probably their chance of winning using the tanks. So let's see what happens. See what they get. So we've got 1, 2, 3 ones, a senior leader and a junior leader. So that's 3 teams, a junior leader and the senior, as we said. So let's see what they can do with that. That might be pretty useful for them. So the British have done a couple of things with theirs. They've brought on their senior commander and their junior leader of their command team. They have joined the Rifle Grenadiers. They've reduced the shock, and then with one of the final command initiatives left over, they're going to get them to fire. But there's only 4 of those left now, so there's only 2 rifle grenades in there. But that's going to be 4 dice at least, because they roll 2 dice each. They have also used 2 teams to move forward the tanks. The female is slightly bogged down a little bit, but the male is pushing forward. And then their final team role was to contact the mortar crew again, or to get the mortar to fire. They'd already contacted it with their very light before, and now they're firing it. So they're going to drop that, and we'll see. We'll do with the Rifle Grenadiers first. So 5 6s to hit. They reduce cover by 1 if they do hit. So that's 1 hit on the Germans on the right flank. So they are now firing at light cover. So 6 is a kill, 4 5 is shock. And that is nothing. So relatively useless. But let's have a look, see what happens with the mortar. So we're now firing our 3-inch Stokes mortar. This is the aiming point. The British are going to need 8 plus on 2d6 to get it directly on, otherwise it will deviate a certain amount of inches depending on what they've rolled. So let's see what we get. That's 11, that's spot on, so it's actually on target, and that covers an area 18-inch square. So we put down smoke markers to show where these squares are. Let's have a look. So we've got, that's our aiming point, so 9 goes all the way to that trench there. This may be the first bit of British luck that we've had, to be honest. And then every team under the fire will take 4d6 hits. So that's the strength of the weapon. Let me just square these off so we know where it is. It also blocks line of sight. So from a point of more to do with actually allowing the advance to continue rather than actually killing Germans, this is more interesting, because I want to get the units, the British units over there, across under this fire to be able to get into the German trenches. This will end, the mortar barrage will end on a turn. Well, let's just have a look. Everybody under here will be hit as though they're hitting they're in the open, and they will take a hit. So every team will take a hit at effective range. So that's a 5 or a 6 to hit them, and they will reduce any cover by 1. So that's they're in hard cover, so that will go down to light cover for the purposes of this. So there's actually only 2 teams under this. There's these guys and these ones here, because the sections aren't really counted as teams, separate teams, so they're counted as sections. So we'll do the hits on them first. These ones, so we said 5 or 6s are hits. So that's 1 hit on our first team in light cover. So 6 is a kill, 4 5 is shock. So that's nothing for them. And then this team over here, again, there's only 5 figures there actually, but that's 1 hit, and that's a kill. Their junior leader is in that team, so let's see if he's the one of the ones that's killed. No, he's not, so he's one of the riflemen. So he's off, so that's the first German casualty that they've had, I think. So as I say, that now blocks line of sight in this area. So that means that the British can actually advance over here, which is pretty good. It's what they wanted. Let's see if that affects anything. Time to see what the Germans can do in retaliation. So they have, let's see, a chain of command points. It's the first one that's been given out for a while. and they have a 4, so senior commander, another 4 senior commander. They can't really do much with that. They've only got one A1, which is a team, and a junior commander of 3. So that's not great for them actually. That may change things a little bit. Let's see what they do. So they've given their junior leader over here command. He's going to fire down on get the section to fire down on the rifle grenadiers, and the senior commander, he will also get what can see of this section to fire down again on the rifle grenadiers. So they're going to take quite a lot of hits here at this point, I think. So we've got 9 rifles there first of all, 2, 4, 6, because junior leader is in there, and they've also got their LMG, which is another 6. So again, 5s and 6s are hits. Let's see what we got. I was going to roll onto a 5, so we've got take out the misses. And that's it. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 hits there. I think 2, 4, 6, yeah, 8 hits. So they're in light cover. Kills on 6. Shock 5, 6. 4 5s. So that's actually 3 shock, no kills. So that was the first one. So we'll put that 3 shock on them first of all. We can take that. They've got a senior commander with them, and then the German senior commander over here, he's commanding these guys, and there's 2, 4, 6 rifles. They are firing the same 5, 6s to hit, and because I'm going to say they're pretty clear of the building at that point, firing across there. They were in heavy cover, firing across there. I'd say they're in light cover. So that's 4 hits. Same again though, 6 are kills, 4, 5 is shock. So that's 1 more shock and a kill. So let's see if... So that's 4 shock now. I'm going to have to see if their junior leader and then their commanders are killed. So we're rolling 1. So we'll roll 1 first of all for the section commander. No. Roll for the junior leader of the HQ. No. And then roll for the senior commander himself. No. So none of those have been hit, but one of the infantry has. So that's another kill off. They are just on their breaking point. Any more shock and they will get pinned. Sorry, not breaking point, pinned points. Right, so the British, these really need to get moving now, so they need to get their sections, their bomber section and their rifle section up onto that German trench and to do some attacking. They also need to get their tanks up, and they need to drop some morale over there. It's a big ask, but they might be able to pull it off. Let's see. So 6 on its own is doing nothing. 1 is a team, so we could at least bring a team on. 2 4s are senior commanders, they've only got 1, and a 3 is a junior commander, a junior leader. So that's kind of what we're left with, which is not a great deal they can do much with, but let's see what happens. So the team was a tank, which is steadily moving forward. Trundle, trundle. And then I use the junior leader and the senior leader on the headquarters guys to reduce the level of shock on the rifle grenadiers, and then also to get them to fire. They're only rolling 2 dice. They need 5 or 6 to hit. They're just going to fire at the Germans in front of them. So that's 2 hits. They do reduce cover, so that means the Germans are now on light cover. So 6 is a kill, 4, 5 shock. So that's 1 kill. There's no junior leader in there, so we'll just take off any German unit. So that's them taken out. So that's not too bad, not too bad. And back to the Germans. What they need to do really here is finish this, end the turn, so they can get rid of that barrage that's falling on them. They'll do that if they roll 3 or more 6s. Otherwise, they're pretty bogged down at the moment. They can't really do much firing. But let's see. There isn't a single 6, and that is probably the worst they could have rolled. 1 is a team, which they don't have, and 4 senior commanders, which they don't have. So they could literally do one thing, which is get their senior commander to fire. So we'll get over and we'll get that done. So the German senior commander is commanding the 6 riflemen to fire down again at the rifle grenadiers. 5, 6 is a hit. So that's 2 hits. 6 is kill, 4, 5 shock. That's a kill and a shock. So So let's get that shock on there while I remember, and we'll see who has been killed. It could be their corporal, it could be the sergeant, or it could be the captain. So second lieutenant actually, I suppose, isn't he? Or a lieutenant. Let's have a look. So is it the corporal? No. Is it the sergeant? He's been hit. It's the sergeant, and he has a 1, he's killed outright. 2, 3, he's injured until the end of the turn. 4, 5, 6, he is injured and reduces his initiatives. So 6, he's injured and reduces his command initiatives. British command roll. So we go another chain of command dice. That's their second of the game, and only the 5th overall. 6 alone does nothing, so we've got junior leader and 2 sections. Right, that might be useful. There's a couple of sections that are waiting to get forward, so let's crack on. Let's take a quick look at the situation as it is at the moment. So we've got this British female tank which is really stuck behind. It's not got far off the start point. The rifle grenadiers, British rifle grenadiers over here, they're stuck in this woodland. The sergeant that is with them has been injured as well, so that's not great. However, the British male tank has pushed forward. I was considering allowing it to use its secondary weapons of Lewis guns against the German defences, but I think it's probably just out of line of sight. If you can get forward a bit further, I'm going to allow it, but this turn, no. We had the section, the Lewis section. They were here. They'd be battered and they're basically broken. They will, if the turn ends, they will disappear. So that'll be another bad things happen roll. The Germans, on the other hand, I think so far they've only had 2 casualties, so they're pretty much still happily holding on here in these trenches, facing up against the rifle grenadiers. These ones here again are in the open. They're quite happy. They've got another section at the back which hasn't done anything yet. That's just been sat there as reinforcements. They are underneath this barrage of mortar fire, and the British have just pushed forward their 2 sections of the bombers and the riflemen under the cover of the Stokes mortar barrage, with the idea of hopefully getting up at least to the wire to cross that and get into the German trenches. So that's where we're at the moment. Still all to play for, even for the British. They have taken some heavy morale damage, but there's a chance that they may be able to do something. So we'll keep pressing on and see what happens next. The German command roll. Let's see what we've got. Re-roll that was cocked. So that's a 6, so that does nothing on its own. They get 2 chain of command points, a team and a section. So that can be turned into a junior leader. Let's give them their chain of command points at least, so that's up to 5 now. So they'll probably turn that into a 3 to get a junior leader to activate something. So their junior leader activation is to get this section over here with the Lewis gun to fire down again at the rifles, the rifle grenadiers. There's not a great deal else they can do. So we're on 5s and 6s to hit. That is a lot of hits though. That's 1, 2, 3. Move all the ones out that aren't hits. Those two, that's, yeah, so that's 6 hits. Killing on 6s, 4 5s on shock. So 1 kill, but 2 shock. So we'll put their shock on, so that takes their shock now up to 3. And the 1 kill, again, let's see if it is any of the leaders. So the corporal, no. The sergeant, no. And the lieutenant, no. So it's just one of the riflemen. So they are now down to 2 riflemen. They have 3 shock, so they're now pinned. No, they've got 3 in there because they've got their corporals, so they're actually okay at the moment. But they're on the edge of breaking, or they're on the edge of being pinned at least. So that was the Germans. Back to the British. And they have another chain of command point, so now on 3. Get rid of that 5. So what else have we got? We've got a 1, a 2, a 3 and a 4. Everything. So let's see, let's have a little think about what we could do with that. That might mean some tanks move forward, or maybe some infantry going for the attack. But let's have a think and have a look. So we use the team to shift forward the tank, but it only moved forward an inch, so I'm still not allowing it to fire its rear guns yet. It's machine guns. I think it's going to have to be at least a couple more inches forward to clear to be able to fire up from the angle of the gun. I've got the senior commander. He is going to reduce shock by 2 points, well actually 3 points because he's got a level 4, and then his final activation will be to get the rifle grenades fire again. There's only 2 of them. There's only one left, but it does fire 5 or a 6 at the Germans. So that's a hit. Reduces cover by 1, so it's light cover. So again 6. That's 1 shock on the Germans over there. So at least that's done something. And the section and the junior commander on the other side, I'll show you what we're doing with them. So over here, the 2 sections have piled forward. They can actually see 3 of the Germans up on that trench line there. These guys are moved into the barrage and up against the barbed wire. They spend a turn next to the wire, and if they roll a 6, they can remove it and get through. So what they've done is moved up. They're almost within 4 inches of the Germans on the trench, but I'm not allowing for close assault to take place because of the barbed wire. It's a barrier between the 2. But they have walked into that barrage, so they're going to take some hits. They roll 4d6 and 5 6s. That's 4 hits, and they're treated as in the open. So 5 or 6s kills. Oh, that's 2 kills and 2 shock for those guys. So that's 3 shock there on. Okay, that went worse than I thought it would, given the rolls previously, what the Germans were getting. So that's 2 kills. Let's see if it's their corporal. No, he's not hit, so it's 2 of the rifles. And back to the Germans. So they've got 2 6s, so they retain this phase. That's a 1, a 1, a 1, and a 2. So they could combine those or have 2 sections. I think 2 sections might be the best thing at this point. Let's have a look. Okay, so over here, the 2 sections I was going to activate are these ones here on this fire step and these ones here with a Lewis gun. So we've got 2, 4, 6 rifles. They're all firing down here at the rifle grenadiers. Same targets, 5 and 6s. So that's 2 hits from the rifles. Let's see what that does. And again, light cover. So that's 1 shock. They keep getting their shock taken off them and then put back on again. So let's see. So that's 1 shock. Get a thing in a second. We've got these ones over here. So we've only got 8 rifles this time. 2, 4, 6, 8. And then also the Lewis gun, which is another 6. Let's get those dice together. And same again, 5s and 6s. So remove anything that isn't a 5 or a 6. And that's again a reasonable number of hits. 2, 4, 6, 7 hits. Rolling these again. 6s kills, 4, 5 shock. And get rid of anything that isn't. So that's 2 more shock. So that's gone up to 3 now. And also 2 kills. So let's see who those 2 kills are. So the first one, is it the corporal? Is it the sergeant? Sergeant's been hit. And is it the senior leader? Yes. So those 2 have been hit. So the sergeant, 1 he's killed instantly. Yes, sergeant has been killed. That's Albert Plasto. He's been killed immediately. And the commander, the senior commander, 4 is his. He has been wounded, so he reduces his command initiatives by 1. We also then roll on the bad things happen table, because we've not only had a junior commander killed, but we've also had a senior commander wounded. So the junior commander killed, 1 to 3, 1 point off, 4 to 6, 2 points off. 2 points off, and the senior leader wounded, 1 to 4, 1 point off, 5, 6, 2 points off. So that's 4 points off the British morale. That drops them right down to 1. That has really hammered them. So they're almost broken now. So with the death of a much respected and loved Sergeant Major, Albert Plastow, the British morale has taken a massive tumble right down to 1. So they now are reducing their command dice by 3. So they're actually only rolling 2 dice. This is not going to be good for the British, but let's just see if they can carry on pushing forward. So 2 5s, that's it, chain of command points. They don't even have enough to play a chain of command dice at this point. But that's them done, that was their turn. So the Germans, they have a good spread, so they've got another chain of command points. That gives them a full chain of command dice. So they may use that to do something like stop that turn. They've also got senior commander, 2 junior leaders and a team. I think what they'll do is they'll spend a chain of command points and they will stop the turn, which will stop the barrage from firing. So that means they can now fire with some of the units that are under that barrage. So the Germans have ended the section, which lifts the barrage down in their chain of command points. One of their junior leaders is going to be firing with the team, with the LMG team at the Rifle Grenadiers again. So that's 6 for the rifle for the LMG, and then another 9 for the rifles. They're going to be piling all of those in. So 5s and 6s. Let's see again. And there we go. So again, another 7 hits. And same again, 6 kills, 4/5 shock. So we've got 1 kill, 3 shock. So their shock is now on 6. So that means that they're broken. No, they're just hanging on. Yes, they are broken because they've lost a casualty. But let's just see if that casualty is their corporal on a 1. It's their corporal. Let's see what's happened to him. 2 is he is wounded till the end of the turn. So that's another bad things happen roll. And that is a junior leader. He's wounded. And junior leader wounded. The most they can get is 1 point. So they've automatically failed it. They're down to 0 anyway. So let's just see what it was. 3 is 1 point. So that's it. That's the British morale has collapsed. Absolutely annihilated them on that. I'll just show you what has happened with the table now the game is over. So the Germans on their right flank had fired at and hit the British corporal in the woods, injuring him and causing the collapse of the morale. However, they were also going to fire with this section here, being commanded by the senior commander. They were probably going to fire at the Rifle Grenadiers as well and trying to kill them off. And also over here they were going to use their junior commander to attack the British, who were basically trying to get their way through the wire in front of them. Or these here. They may have fired with these guys at these ones in the open as well. Either way, they probably would have caused heavy casualties on them. They were able to stop the turn because they used their chain of command dice to stop that barrage falling, so they were suddenly able to see the British, and they had a perfect roll for it, basically. So, that was a great game of chain of command. The British barely got off their starting point. They really were... Oh, yeah, I just realised as well, I mean, the British would have lost another bad things happen to a roll because they would have lost their Lewis gun team as well, who had broken, so that would have been another roll as well. So yeah, the British were definitely hammered on this one. I'm not really sure what went wrong there, because I think the start off from a British attacking point of view wasn't so bad. The tanks really didn't get very far. They were basically about halfway across. Another turn, the Mail may have been able to swing the battle slightly. I think the Germans lost maybe 2 casualties overall, and the British, just looking across there, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got about 20 casualties. 2 sections are pretty much wiped out, and you know their leaders are all either wounded or dying. I was trying to emulate the pamphlet, the training pamphlet SS143, which was the 1917 British pattern of attack, and it didn't go very well. What I needed to do was probably have a bit more of a coordinated attack. Really, I think I had them in the right places. They just needed to get those good rolls. But that's the beauty of chain of command. Things just literally can go completely tits up when you don't want it. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I really enjoyed playing it, so I'm going to do some more First World War chain of command stuff in the future, I think. This has really spurred me on, really enjoyed that. And if you have enjoyed it, just subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more of these after action reports. Thanks a million.